Welcome, everybody, to Write Better Together. I'm Jon Meyers. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers. And hey, look, everybody, it's Bob Saenz.
Oh, my gosh. What? There, Emily's there, and then she's gone again. What?
No,
Now what?
She's not really gone. You know this. You know she's not gone. She and her beautiful baby have taken up residence in one of our downstairs closets. It's a rather large closet, so it's.
Wait. Last episode, she was in the guest room. Now you demoted her to a closet?
Well, she wanted a little more. She wanted more privacy.
Oh, okay. What are we talking about today?
Well, we have quite the list, Jon Meyers.
Oh, good.
First, we're going to talk about how we got out of our bubble.
Yes.
Then we're going to do a viewer response, which you're in charge of.
I do.
Then we're going to do an interview with the beautiful, glorious, wonderful Jeanne Bowerman.
Yes.
Then we're going to do a little Hey Jon Meyers.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
And then we're going to be done because I don't want to play a game, but you're going to play a game anyway.
Final act.
The final act.
The final act. And this one, well, you'll like this one. Sure.
Please.
So how'd you get out of your bubble this week?
How did I get out of a bubble? I spent an entire day yesterday trying to convince Wednesday, trying to convince a homeowner's insurance company to replace my roof after the last big storm. And they were remarkably understanding and nice after they sent a young man up on my roof, which has a pitch like about this. And I didn't understand how he could even climb it. And he took a different colored chalk and chalked off things on my roof, came back down, and they had a conversation where I couldn't hear. And they said, we'll let you know. And 2 hours later, they said, we're replacing your roof.
So I was hoping your powers of persuasion as a master pitch artist convinced them to cover the roof.
I did have a lot to say.
Okay.
And I did tell them a lot of things about how I had never, ever claimed anything on insurance before in all my years. And they looked it up and said, you're right. And that's a very good thing. And I talked about how I had fixed the roof 2 times prior instead of asking them to replace it. And this final time I found all the shingles on the ground around my house and thought, okay, 3rd time's the charm. I need to get somebody over here. So I got a roofer over, a good one that was recommended by a very good friend and realtor that I know here in lovely Nashville. And that the roofer said, you need a new roof. And he came too when the insurance people were here, said very little, but was there. And we, between all of us, they agreed to replace my roof, which is a very nice thing, which, to be honest which is what I paid insurance for. This was a real, the last 2 storms that came through, just my roof decided, okay, I can't take anymore.
I got a new roof this summer too, or last summer.
Well, that's right. Yours got knocked off too.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
So let me pull this back into writing. You have reps, but there are points before you had reps. Does your negotiation prowess from your writing career share the center of a Venn diagram with your negotiating prowess with insurance guys or car salesmen or whatever?
My negotiating prowess came from the fact that I was a salesman for 22 years before I was a screenwriter. And yes, of course it does. Everything you do in your life informs everything else you do in your life. And all those things, how to read people and how to be with people and how to be honest with people. And people know when you're authentic and people know when you're not authentic. It's very easy to see. And if you're authentic with people and you tell them the truth and you don't try and, BS them, then you don't have a problem. And even if they say no, you've still not compromised yourself as a human being, and you've been authentic to what you really want or what you really need or what they really want or what they really need.
Since the last episode we recorded, Bob and I talk every once in a while, and during one of those, and I always preface this with, "Don't say anything you can't say." Like I need to tell you that you're never gonna say anything you can't say. So I don't know why I preface that. But you got a phone call from a producer, and you took the phone call. Then you called me back and you said you're not gonna believe what they were interested in. Blah 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 blah. And I gave them this number. Blah 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 blah. And um and they didn't bat an eye at this number. And so you didn't tell me what the number was, but you said I gave them a number. So pretend I'm the producer. I want to hear how you present. Don't say the number. Just say $10 or whatever. I want to hear how that conversation goes. Hey Bob, we really love this thing. What's your number?
You have to give me an offer. You make me an offer first, and then we will negotiate based on that offer, based on the budget of the film and whatever it's going to cost you to make it, and my perceived value. And you're going to give me a number, and then I'm going to come back with a number or I'm going to say that's a great number, or I'm going to come back and say that's not enough. I'm never going to say it's too much, but I'm going to come back with another number, and you're going to ask me why, and I'm going to explain it to you that the last time or the last 3 times I've worked for this person or this person or this person, that's what I got paid. And it depends on who they are and what they are. If they're a friend, if there's somebody that I'm fixing a script for and I've known them for years, Farmer in the Bell, Jen Gotson is a good example. What they paid me was far less than I got paid for some of my other movies that I've done. But I did that because I've known her for 30 years, and I knew that her budget was limited, and I knew that she'd spent a lot of that budget already. And I also liked the story, and I saw great value in the message from that story. So it's really about what you want to do. I'm not in the WGA. I've chosen not to join. That's my own personal, thing, and so I can negotiate my own deals, and I do, and there are times when I get over WGA money, and there are times when I don't, and it just depends on what the project is and who's involved, and what the budget is, and how much I love the project.
And in that conversation that you told me about, you gave them the second number and they were okay with it.
Yes, they were.
Is my
And
summation
I think they were expecting it, and it wasn't that far off from theirs. It wasn't that far off. They didn't bat an eye. I think they knew, but they were going to see if I would just accept a lower amount. And
yeah, I wondered what the verbiage around that was. The
last
3 I did, I got paid this, or I know you're gonna have 3 rewrites for me, and then I know about steps, dude.
Yeah, we talked about steps. And we also talked about production bonuses and all that other stuff that people don't understand. When you read in the newspaper that somebody got paid $1 million for a script, they didn't get paid $1 million for that script. They got paid $200,000 for that script, and then they got another 100 for another rewrite and another 100 for another rewrite, and then if they do those rewrites, if they don't do those rewrites, they don't get that money, and then all this other stuff and polishes and production writing and all this stuff, and then another $500,000 if it actually goes in the first day of production. So if it never gets produced, they don't get that money. So the least they can make is a couple $100,000, and the most they can make is $1 million if they do all the steps and it gets produced.
Exactly.
And the chances of that happening are slim and none, because there's always going to be another writer involved somewhere down the road. Usually I'm the other writer involved. So when they hire me, whoever got that other deal has to share their money with me. And it's just the way the industry works.
Thank you for that very thorough answer.
You're welcome. What did you do to get out of your bubble?
Well, I went to Kroger and I negotiated a deal at the Kroger.
What'd you
I
buy?
negotiated a deal on pork chops. No. So when I'm walking in Kroger, my favorite thing to happen to me in my whole world is when I'm walking across the parking lot of TJ Maxx or of Target and I hear, "Hey, Jon Meyers," because when I hear that, I know that it's one of my students. And people or coworkers, and because all my students call me Jon Meyers, all my coworkers call me Jon Meyers, people who watch podcasts call me Jon Meyers, and then people who know me well at church call me Jon Meyers. But church is 2,500 people. People don't know me. Some people know me as John. But when I hear "Hey, Jon Meyers," I'm like, oh, that's one of my students. Is my first thing. And so I was going in, he was going out, and I'm like, "Hey, good to see you." And I had forgotten his name, but I had 1,000 students in the last 5 or 6 years. I can't remember them all, man. He goes, "I'm Tyler." And I'm like, "Oh, man, I knew it." And thanks, Tyler. And so I asked him if he is still friends with any, because I remembered exactly where he sat in the classroom. This was in the spring of 2023, so this is over 2 years ago. And because that spring semester is now done. And if he was still friends with the people that he made friends with in that class.
Yeah.
And because I have a podcast now and I'm not on TikTok, share it in your TikTok with your friends, and I'll love you forever. And he goes, so while I said it, he pulls up his phone and he goes, "Is this it?" And he had pulled up Right Better Together on his phone that fast. And I'm like, "Yep, that's it." And he goes, "All right, I just followed it and I'll send it in the group chat." And I'm like, "Group chat?" And he goes, "Yeah, we still have the group text from when we were in your class from 2 years ago. And we're still all friends."
I think that's spectacular. This is a lot
That's
about
wonderful.
you. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
I remember the first time when I was student teaching that they act like they're all sneaky, like, "Oh, we're gonna have a group text behind his back," right? And and someone said out loud, "Oh, I'll just put it in the group text," and then they're like, they shot him a look like, "Oh, you can't say that." And but then once I learned that that's pretty normal for my classes because they congeal as these tight little families, these tight little friendship groups, that I would use it. I'd be like, "Hey, Tyler, are you you're in the group chat, right?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to change the homework. Put that in the group chat in case people don't read my emails." And I would use it to my advantage. And I love that 2 years later that those people are still friends.
I think that's wonderful.
It speaks volumes.
It does.
I'm teaching a master class in September, as you know, at WriterCon, as are you, I guess. Emily and I have a Discord for our Patreon followers, and I already told her that anyone that takes a master class is going to get to go in that Discord group for no extra money, and then it'll help build that community, and they can like trade notes and do do swaps and story swaps with each other.
You know how much I believe in story swaps and in reading each other's stuff and giving notes.
So
I have a circle of writers that I send all my new stuff to, and we send to each other. I just read 2 scripts. I read 1 script today and talked to the author. And I'm reading in the middle of another script today. One of them was a writer who's 23 years as a comedy writer in LA and is a successful comedy writer in LA. And the other one is from a successful showrunner, who wrote a script that she wanted me to read, and I told her I would.
And you saw my book cover before anybody else?
And I saw your book cover,
which we can't talk about yet because I haven't.
I'm not going to talk about
told
it.
the
I'm
world
just saying
yet.
It was impressive. I liked it.
Thank you very much.
It was eye-catching.
It's meant to be a modern day classic.
Well, we will all hope so. Okay, so now that we've been out of our bubble, what viewer response do you have?
Funny you should ask. I have it right here. So speaking of WriterCon, I don't know if you know Kay Suz, author Kay Suz.
Name sounds familiar.
She's friends with Mary Stella. And what I wanted to say about Kay Suz is that she responded to our book on Goodreads and gave us this following review.
All right, hit it.
From the real live Kay Suz. I picked this book up after meeting its authors at last year's WriterCon. They are some of the nicest people you will ever meet. Aww. And it comes through in their writing styles. They bring the reader in close to share some of the personal struggles they've had to overcome achieving their goals, making it clear that if they can do it, you can too. Charming, relatable, and informative. This book is terrific inspiration for any writer, old or new, who needs a little nudge to get going, to keep going, or to get going again after a longer than intended break. The chapters are short, but I read only one a day on purpose so that I could put its principles into practice before moving on to the next chapter. I would recommend this book for anyone who needs a little encouragement to do just that thing.
Can I tell you something? She didn't just write a 2-sentence review.
Correct.
She wrote a whole novel of a review. That's super. She took the time to write that much. She liked it that much. That's a testament to how good that book is, which I think it's good.
I liked that she said we were charming. And that our charmingness came through in the book, because when New York Times bestseller David Bell reviewed our book, he said that we were gentle. David Hal Chester, Lifetime movie writer, said we were breezy. So now we're charming, breezy, and what was the other one? I forgot already. Gentle. We're gentle, charming, and breezy.
How nice for you. That's great. I love it. So we've gotten a great viewer response. Boy, that's a terrific review.
Thank you.
Cut that out and print it out, frame it, and put it on your wall.
I'll put it on the next one.
I have reviews on my wall in my office. So
you have reviews.
One of them is a 1-star review from the Los Angeles Times.
You have 28 reviews for this book, and they're all 5-star reviews.
Thank you. I have a 1-star review on the wall in my office. It's a 1-star review for extracurricular activities from the Los Angeles Times, and it says, and I quote, "What kind of a person would write a movie like this?"
This kind, the kind that's right here. Not the kind that's gentle, breezy, and charming. No, you're charming.
No. Nobody's ever accused me of being any of those things.
You're charming. I don't know.
And then right next to that 1-star review, I have another review where I made where that same film made the top 10 best movie list for 2019.
In Village Voice, I think it made some Village Voice list. Did you know that?
No.
It did. I don't, because they have sub lists too. I don't remember which one, but the book I held up for people who don't know is Jessica's Vampire Diary, for people that aren't watching and are listening. And then that was the one that has the 5-star reviews. I don't know about this one. This one has a lot.
That one has almost 300 reviews, and it's 4.8 stars.
That's not the way.
There's some 1-stars there.
That one's called "That's Not the Way It Works." When you got to 50 reviews, did you notice, like, all of a sudden it just, like, it took forever to get to 50, and then all of a sudden it went like to 100, 200, 300 real fast?
Yeah. And then I get the occasional. I still get an occasional. You get people who review it, and I've got a couple of college professors who teach screenwriting now that are assigning it in their screenwriting classes, which makes me very happy.
Betsy Kulikowski said said that about the 50 reviews, that when you get once it gets to 50, it just skyrockets. That's cool that you have professors teaching that.
Yeah. So let's talk about who's coming to visit today.
Okay.
That is the lovely and wonderful Jeanne Bowerman.
Yes.
She was, let's see if I got this all right, the editor-in-chief of Script Magazine, the senior editor of Writer's Digest. She is now an executive at Pipeline Media. She's the editor-in-chief of Pipeline Artists, which means Script Pipeline and Book Pipeline. And she's a columnist and a podcaster. She's got 2 podcasts. And she's the founder of Script Chat on X. And she has an antique store that my wife looks at her website all the time and says, I want to buy this. And I discourage her, but I don't know if that's going to help in the future because she's going to buy a couple things. And Jeanne is also my friend, and I've written a bunch of articles for her for Script Pipeline, and I wrote articles for Script Magazine for her before. And you're taking my book down.
Because she also wrote a review of your book that I'm taking down so that I can read it. Okay. as part of her introduction, because it's on the back cover of the book.
Yes, she asked if she could read the book when it was a galley print, and then she asked me if she could give me a back cover quote, and I said, "Are you kidding me?" Yes, of course.
Bob's book is full of blunt force honesty every screenwriter should digest, even if it means choking it down. It'll save them years of missteps as Script Magazine's writer and editor-in-chief. I deeply appreciate Bob's candor in telling writers what we need to hear, not what people think they want to hear. If knowledge is power, then Bob has supplied us with a mighty arsenal to take over the writing world without reservation. I'll be enthusiastically recommending it to every writer who calls me for advice. That's a glowing review right there.
That's a terrific review, and I couldn't ask for any better from anybody. And she volunteered it, which was even better. I didn't have to get on my knees and beg for it. Nice. So I think it's time to bring Jeanne on, don't you?
Let's watch. Hey, everybody, we're back. I'm still Jon Meyers. It's still Bob Saenz. Who's this other person?
This person is who I talked about. This is my friend, Jeanne Bowerman.
Hi, Jeanne.
Hi, how are you?
She is one of my favorite people on earth, and a good friend, and we have long phone conversations sometimes that I think go on. You know, she probably thinks I'm talking too much, but we have fun, and
never.
She's a lovely, wonderful person, and a very knowledgeable person on everything writing. As I said earlier, you know, senior editor with Writer's Digest, and editor-in-chief of Pipeline Artists, and she needs to talk to us about Pipeline. In fact, tell us about Pipeline Media.
You know, one of the things I love about Pipeline, and probably why I left Script Magazine, because people are like, why could you leave Script Magazine and Writer's Digest? You know, I think it's time. 10 years is usually like, you know, enough time to shake it up, move a little. But I liked Pipeline because it's still a very small knit. It's like a family, like in all the people who work there. It's a small company. It's, you know, independently owned. It's no big corporate thing. And everybody who works there is a writer and a creative of some sort. So, yeah. And so it's writers trying to help writers. And so they get it. And I'm telling you, they give killer notes. Like sometimes I'm like afraid, like, oh, when I write this book, do I want one of them to give me notes? but I like the kind of notes that are like real and honest. And that's like with pipeline artists. One of the things I said to Matt, when I first came on, I was like, I don't want to sell hope. And I'm not interested in that. I want, to tell people what they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear. So I'm a firm believer in hard truths, and that the more that's the truth, the quicker you can advance, because you're not going to spend all this time spinning in circles, trying to do this thing that everyone tells you must do in order to succeed. I mean, there are as many ways to succeed as there are people who have succeeded. So this whole selling hope kind of thing, I'm not interested in that. I'd much rather just be really honest with people. And Pipeline does that.
I admire you for that, because I mean, you and I are in total agreement with trying not to sell. I mean, I want people to desperately, not desperately, but really want to succeed and to work for it and learn the craft and do all the things that they need to do. But there are too many people out there who are giving them what people, are selling shortcuts that don't exist. And that's a bad thing.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so in Bob's introduction, he said a bazillion different hats that you've worn in the past and in the present, and you do so many over the 10 years that I've known you online. You do so many things in different capacities for different organizations. I want you to talk to the viewers who do that same thing, who have you're beyond cobbling together this income as a freelance writer, but you do work for these people, and you work for these people, and you work for these people, and you have an antique shop. How do you manage that emotionally, and how do you, like, who gets your priority today? The bigger paycheck, or the bigger impact? Like, how do you decide?
Well, my only paying gig is Pipeline. The antique shop is like a volunteer thing I do to help my 93-year-old mother, who has seven buildings, hoarder full of antiques. She was even on American Pickers, like that level of amount of antiques. And like, I just came from the shop, so I'm very disheveled. And if you could see below my neck, I am filthy, because like I was cleaning stuff off today. And I also run a little private beach up in our neighboring town on a small little lake. I hire lifeguards, all that other stuff. And I also, another volunteer job, I run a cemetery. So a little Revolutionary War cemetery right up the street. Right. So when it comes to priorities, if the funeral director calls me, that gets the priority, because there's a body that needs to be buried. And
do they still bury bodies in the Revolutionary War cemetery?
What's it going to take to get you in a plot today, Bob? Because I can sell you a plot. I can. People will come into my antique shop and say, Jeannie, I want to buy a plot. I'm like, I don't have that hat on today. Okay. I don't have those maps with me. I can't help you.
I would have thought a Revolutionary War cemetery would be full already.
It's a very small, it's a little small country cemetery. We have people from the Civil War, from the Revolutionary War, but we also I have my plot there. Like, we also have, like, people will still buy plots and still have to bury them. So here's a fun fact. So, like, sometimes I'll say to Matt, he never knows what I'm going to say, why I'm stepping away. I'm like, okay, Matt, I got to go this afternoon. I got to bury a body. And it's the truth. Like, I have taken a shovel and thrown dirt over cremated remains. I've done it all.
Wow.
So let me tell you what's fun about the cemetery thing. Is probably one of the most humbling and rewarding volunteer things that I do, helping families in that final stage. But I I went to Thriller Fest last year, and JT Ellison, who lives in Nashville, she was chatting with me, and she's, had to write a short story, and she's just like talking to me. She's like, "So what have you been up to lately?" I said, "Oh, since I saw you last, I started running the cemetery." And she's like, "Oh my God." And she whips out her phone and starts telling me everything. And like, I start, giving her the, ideas of what it's like with the cemetery. And sorry, dog barking. And
That is
so
not Rocket.
no. And so all of a sudden, all these people start coming over because it's Thriller Fest. So there's all these mystery and thriller writers wanting to pick my brain about how to bury a body and how somebody could get away with murder. I became very popular at that conference.
You don't have? Are you where in New York are you? In northern New York or?
I'm straight up
upstate?
from New York City, like 2 hours straight up, like in the Chatham area.
How
The
far are
sweet
you
little-
from like Buffalo or Niagara Falls?
Those are west. So people say
Okay.
upstate, like, and they talk about what, but that to me, that's like west.
The reason I would think that, I imagine you're in a small town, right? With this, I'm just picturing this quaint small town with an antique store and this little private, quote unquote, private cemetery. And so, of course, you're busy with cemetery work because it's a small town. Am I right? Or
Yep. We have one traffic light and there's only 4,000 people in my town.
yeah, so that's
It's
wonderful.
fabulous. It's fabulous.
That's wonderful. One of the other new hats that you're putting on, as you told us before we started, that you're starting an indie press, just like we are. Tell us how that came to be, and
that's
why you're doing it, why you want to do it.
That's called Fringe Press. And Lee Matthew Goldberg, who's an author, I don't know how many books he has out now, 13, 14 books. Great guy. I think Matt met him through Pipeline because I think Lee was in one of our contests or something. And so Lee has had a connection with Pipeline for years, and he came up with this idea for Fringe Press. And he, being entrenched in the publishing industry as an author, having multiple different agents and understanding the difficulties of getting published, and also seeing these really great projects that his friends were writing that were a little bit on the fringe, that they weren't something the big five was going to pick up. And so Lee was like, I want to start a press. And so he reached out to Matt, and that's how Pipeline got involved and how I got involved, because I was like, I can help, really, I love to learn new things. And I want to learn more about publishing and be more in the publishing space than the screenwriting space right now. Doesn't mean I won't go back to screenwriting at some point, but for right now, this is kind of where I want to be. And right now we've picked up our first book, and Chris is doing edits on it now. Very exciting. I'm not going to tell you what it's about but it's actually been in Publishers Marketplace. But I'm not sure that the concept was posted. I can't remember. I've got too many hats on, so I can't remember details sometimes. So yeah. And, but super excited, a great author. And so right now we're focusing more on mysteries, thrillers. We seem to be getting a lot of sci-fi and fantasy submissions as well. Lots of queries in our slush pile. And so we go through those, and something that all, five of us agree on, then that one will go forward. And we're really looking for fresh voices and the kind of stories that would make great adaptations into film. Because with Pipeline, we've got such a film connection that that's what makes the most sense, because then we can go pitch that project ourselves for film. And so that's what we're doing. And it's really fun because it's different and indie and kind of edgy, and do whatever, find something. And also too, one of the other reasons I love being a Pipeline is the concept of discovering fresh artists and new voices, whether it be in book pipeline, script pipeline, film pipeline. Like some of the short films that we watch for film pipeline blow me away. Like some of these writer directors, it's like they're going to win an Oscar someday, like crazy good. And most of the short films I saw before this, frankly, sucked. Like they weren't that good.
Mostly do.
Yeah.
They mostly do.
Yeah. But some of these are incredible.
Well,
That
when,
makes-
when you're so you're looking all for fiction. There's so what any particular genres, or are you just casting a wide net to see what interesting things you get?
Right now, more mystery thriller stuff, because that's where Lee is that's where his genre is. And also Zoe Quinton is our editor. And she's great. She's dives right in there with the author and helps them and, editing the book and giving them some developmental tips and ideas and thoughts. But we all kind of weigh in on it. I don't know where we'll branch out and where we'll end up. It's sort of like based on, we're trying not to stick ourselves in a box. So it depends on what comes across for us. Like what, if it's something that we can all agree on and think is really good and be passionate about.
Did you make a big announcement about this? Because it sounds like you're getting lots of queries.
We are getting a lot of queries, and I think partly because Zoe is in the industry and publishing industry for a long time, and so is Lee. So they have a lot of friends who are authors. So a lot of them have queried us, and we take queries. Not, you don't have to have an agent to query us. Like you can just query us, and we'll work directly with authors. Yeah,
We Bob, you probably don't even know this, Bob. We get queries at Write Better Together Press, and because we mentioned it in the epilogue after our first book, and so we get unsolicited queries already, and we're kind of like what Jeanne just said, and that we don't want to put ourselves in a box, but we're leaning. You do know that we're leaning towards memoir, hopefully performative memoir, and I'm going to be teaching about that this fall, and so our third book will be I don't want to say too much. Our third book will be an anthology of people who are coming out of the woodwork when we didn't even really solicit queries, but some of them are really good.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to ignore those while you have them.
And what's interesting too, when I get queries for pipeline artists, like for articles and stuff, I cannot tell you how many times I'll get a query that it's so obvious that AI wrote this query. Like, and then it's like, do you even know, did you even look at the website to see what we do? It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
That slush pile.
What drives you to where?
I appreciate the fact that you've let me write articles for pipeline.
Hey, anytime, Bob. Because you always tell the truth. You tell it like it is. That's what we want.
What drives you to wear 7-8 different hats? Why?
Necessity. Like my mom's 93, so I have to help her. Like and the beach was because it all kind of happened in like, I guess, serendipitous ways, but maybe not such advantageous ways for me. like there was a woman who was stealing from the little beach association. It's like this little nonprofit. So we had to do a coup and kick her out. And then my reward for kicking her out was now I had to be on the board. And then the cemetery happened because the antique shop, because the building for the antique shop is called the Old 1811 Antique Shop, and was built in 1811. It's the oldest building in the village, and it's haunted, and so that's really fun. And I know some of the names of the ghosts, and I talk to them all the time. But before my parents bought the building in like early 2000s, the building was in such disrepair, they couldn't sell it. So they had an auctioneer come in and auction off a whole bunch of stuff for the building, like light fixtures and restaurant equipment and all this stuff. So there was a sign that used to hang on the side of the building for the bar. And it just said Old 1811 Inn. And a friend of mine, a neighbor, had told me one day that he had the sign. And I said, well, I want the sign back. Like, what do you want for it? Like, I'll, name your price. What do you want for it? Because I want it, to be back with the building. And so he said, my mother was notorious for going to auctions and making it very difficult for anybody else to buy anything at the auction. So he's like, oh, there were these 2 duck heads that your mother bid against me on. And I'm like, you're never going to believe this, but I found 2 duck heads just the other day. And I pull them out. I'm like, are these them? And he's like, yes. I said, here, take them. And he's like, okay, but now I have to find the sign. So fast forward like 2 years, he didn't find the sign. All of a sudden he shows up at my back door with the sign. And I was so excited. And he pulls it back. He goes, there's a condition. And I'm like, what? He said, there's a woman who had been the secretary of the cemetery. He's on the cemetery board for a long time. And he butt heads with her a lot. And he goes, she's finally ready to retire, but she'll only retire if you take over as secretary. And then if you say yes, I'll give you the sign. And I'm thinking, it's literally one meeting a year. And I'm thinking, secretary, for one meeting for 1 hour, I could take minutes. Fine, give me the sign. So I go over to this woman's house, and it turns out that I'm secretary and treasurer. And I was about to say, and she's handing me all these files. Giving me the name of grave diggers and like all the stuff that I'm like, what? And then I see she hands me these files, and I'm about ready to say, I can't do this. I don't have time for this because I have to file reports with the state, all this stuff. All of a sudden, she hands me this manila envelope, and it has my father's handwriting on it. And my father died in 2019, and he used to be on this board. And I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to do this.
Did you know he was on the board before?
I knew he was on the board, but I didn't realize that there was anything with his hand. Like I didn't know what he did. Like I was younger. I was like, whatever. Yeah. You hang out with your grave people. And now I'm one of them.
That's amazing. So in all of those different endeavors, however, you had the power to say no or yes to each of them. I'm sure there are things that you say no to. There has to be some common denominator, some thread woven through cemetery, beach. I understand antique stores and necessity because of your mother's age. Pipeline, the new indie press. There has to be some essence of Jeanne that compels you to say yes to these things.
You left out script chat.
Oh, and I have an Airbnb
column.
Yeah, I still write.
And Airbnb.
And I have an Airbnb, and I still write for Script Magazine. I still do my regular column over there.
She has a podcast called Reckless Creatives.
Correct.
And I also co-host another podcast called The Story Will Save You.
Oh, I didn't know about that one. So Answer my question. What's the essence of Jeanne that drives these now 12 projects, not the 7 or 8 that we thought when we started?
I think it is just serving and helping people.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I love about, when I was at Script Magazine and Writer's Digest and Pipeline and Script Chat and, helping people in some little way to make them feel a little bit less alone and less overwhelmed, I guess. And the beach is just like the sweet family, wonderful slice of heaven. It's this tiny little beach, and it's, and with the cemetery, I mean, there's no other better way to serve people than, and you know what I do with the cemetery? Can I tell you something?
Sure.
I do.
Yes.
Okay. So the day after we bury someone, Bob's got, if anyone's just listening to this, not watching, Bob's eyes just closed like, oh my God, what is she going to say? Okay. So the day after we bury somebody, I go up there And because it's on my walk, I walk, I have a dog, I go walking my dog, and I walk and I to whomever it is, I say hello to them, I welcome them, and then I turn to everybody in the cemetery and I'm like, you have a new neighbor. Ruth Randall is here. Let me introduce you to her. And if I know something about them, I'll say it. And I'm like, everybody play nice. And then I leave.
That is just fabulous.
That's
But
wonderful.
can I tell you
Now,
something?
though, I have to ask. You said you have a plot there. So when you're in that plot, who's going to do that? Who's
I
going to
don't know, but
be?
somebody better do it.
Yeah, I know. So someone watching this episode needs to step up, and because someone needs to take that. That was cool. Someone needs to take that hat away. And
Can I tell you that I don't that you doing that doesn't surprise me in the least. Not any at all. And you're kind of being in a position that you feel like that you have to give back and you have to help people and you have to do what you can. I admire that so much. I know John and I talk about this all the time. I try and do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
To help as many people as I can to get forward. All this stuff is not a zero sum game. Just because one person succeeds doesn't mean somebody else doesn't. It
Mm-hmm.
means we should all be together in this, encouraging everyone in their quest to succeed at whatever they're doing, whether it's writing a novel, or owning a cemetery, or selling, or buying or selling antiques, or whatever they want to succeed in. That we try and give them a leg up doing it if we can, if it's within our power. So
Yeah.
you're having that attitude, knowing you as well as I do, doesn't surprise me in the least.
And I also just think about the people who've helped me, and one of the things I always say, like, there's times when I'm tired, or just don't have one more ounce to give. But if somebody asks something of me, the first thing that comes to my head is, what would I want somebody to say if it was one of my kids asking for help? And that's how I always look at it. And so it's like, okay, I have the capability to give you the answer to this question or whatever it is. So I'm going to do it, because if it was my kid asking somebody, I would want them to take the time to help.
were you that way as a child, as a teenager? Were you the girl that like rescued the sick bird at the side of the? Was that you?
I was definitely the person who, I don't know, I was very insecure. I
Oh.
I didn't have like a lot of confidence. I'm the youngest of four, so like my other siblings are very strong personalities. So I always did what I was told, and tried to just kind of, I don't know, like, I don't know that I wasn't asked a lot of me, I think. Like, like I did whatever I was told and asked to do, but I was never overwhelmed with a whole bunch of responsibility. I think God's making up for that now. I think he's like, okay, joke's on you. You had a pretty easy life in the beginning, so now you're going to work hard.
When do you think it started? When would you say it started? If it wasn't as a
God,
child.
this is like a therapy session.
I know. That's the point.
I know.
You went to Cornell. Were you that way at Cornell?
Did. I was a cheerleader.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went to a lot of parties. I had a good time in college. No, I didn't do a lot of volunteer work or anything like that there. I don't know when that kind of switched. I think it kind of switched more once I had children. Like, understanding that I'm a part of a community, and especially in a small town. So if something needs to get done, if people don't volunteer to do it, it's not going to get done. So most people don't want to be bothered, I think I could, and truth be told, I think I could find a balance. I wouldn't mind if a couple things went away, you know. Probably the thing that I would most be ready to let go of would be the antique shop, because I have to physically be there. And it does definitely takes away from my writing. But yeah, I wish that I'm not going to be doing all of this stuff forever. Like, it's not sustainable, but it's really about serving a small community.
What gets me though, and it doesn't. I mean, what impresses me the most too is no matter what you're doing, if it's script chat on Sunday night on X, or it's, and we can talk about that a little bit, or it's just dealing with people in whatever hat you happen to be wearing, you're always so positive, and your attitude is always one of positivity. Now, and that is, it's just, it's something that I aspire to, because I would like to be as positive as you are about stuff.
Well, you don't see my private Slack messages. Like, you need a release somewhere,
Yeah, but for what you do, and for the things that I see you in public do, and even when we have our private discussions, you're so positive and you're so uplifting. And did that just, is that just you, or did it rub off on you from your parents, or where did it come from?
I think it came from survival, like the survival instincts. Like, this industry and writing and being in creative in the arts is so difficult. And so I think at some point, when I would get notes or when I would get rejections, like, I would cry. I would, and I've written about this many times, and I'm very honest about it. Like, I always tell people when they read my articles, like, I am opening up my wounds and handing the reader the salt shaker, because if I can't be honest in even just articles that I write, like, but really what I try to focus on is, okay, so all the years I spent screenwriting, did I get that big project produced? No. So what am I going to think about at the end of my life? Like, am I going to say I was a failure? No, because I met incredible people during all of those years. I mean, I remember being on the phone. This was like the moment that, like, you pinch yourself, right? I'm on the phone with Doug Richardson, who wrote Die Hard 2, Bad Boys Hostage. He's like a brother from another mother. And I met him on Twitter, like when it was Twitter. That's how I met him. And Tom Schulman, Oscar winner, Dead Poets Society. I'm literally on a conference call with the two of them breaking story when I was writing Slavery by Another Name. A girl from Chatham, New York, with one traffic light. You know what I mean? And those are the things that I focus on, instead of focusing on that movie never got made. And, it doesn't matter that movie never got made. I'm a better writer than I was before. I have better friendships, like, not better, but different, bigger, wider net of friends, and incredible, life experiences, physically being in HBO pitching and pitching in Johnny Depp's offices, which, by the way, let me tell you, he painted all of the artwork in those offices, and it's incredible. But I'm sitting there going, never in my life did I think I'd be sitting in these places, and talking to these people.
I've been through the same thing when I've ended up being in offices, or talking to people on the phone, or having conferences or Zooms, or with people that I had I standing in line with Sean Connery at the breakfast, when
very humbling
on the Rock, and he looks down at me and goes, "Good morning," and I'm thinking, okay, life is good.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
You pinch yourself. So that's
and you
good.
can't focus. And it's hard to, like, when people just focus on the finish line, they just focus on, I need to get this book published, or I need to get this. You're missing the whole point of life. Like, life is about experiences and living, and learning. And I don't like the word failure. Like, it's, everything is a lesson. Like, if something didn't work, you know, one of the things that I say to my kids, and this is, if there's kids listening, I really would like you to take this advice to heart, and even adults. When you get overwhelmed and you've got all these things that are on your list of things you have to take care of and you're overwhelmed, pick the thing that stresses you the most and do that first. Because once you've done the thing that is the hardest first, the rest of them just kind of like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can figure that out. And just focus
That's
on
great.
one thing at a time. Like, don't look at this whole big picture. Just look at the one thing at a time and knock them out. And I wish somebody had told me that, 40 years ago.
Hey, listen, youth is wasted on the young.
It
We
really
find out
is.
so many things as you get older that you think, why didn't I know this before? And
But you know what, Bob? Somebody probably tried to tell you it before and you didn't listen because you were smarter than them because you were young.
And I knew everything.
Yes.
Wow. That's great. That's listen, anybody, that doesn't just go for kids. That goes for
Right.
everybody. You can be 100 years old and take that advice, and it's great advice.
Yeah.
Normally we wind up where the guest gives a call to action to our viewers. I kind of thought you started to do one there. And do you have a call to action where you make them get out of their comfort zone, and then if it can be anything you want them to do in the next week or two, and then after you tell them what that is, then I will tell them how they get the results to us.
Okay. I would like people to do something that scares them. Something that they have been afraid to do for whatever reason, and do it. Whether it means, an action or like if it's skydiving, make sure you're doing it tandem with somebody and you've got an actual working parachute. Like, let's not get crazy
Don't
here.
just jump out of a plane by
Don't
yourself.
just jump out of a plane. No, nothing dangerous. But also too, for those creatives who are listening, like, write that story that kind of scares you to write. And it might scare you to write it because it's too personal, but that's exactly the story you should be writing.
Or you fear that you're going to fail.
Yeah. Don't even think about it. Do that thing, that Stephen King thing. Like, if you're doing this for writing, just shut the door. Don't even imagine anyone is ever going to read this. And also too, with your first draft, no one is going to read your first draft. So it can be crappy. Just write it.
That's great.
But if you're,
I love that.
All right, so viewers, you heard Jeanne. Do what she says. Go right now. Don't even watch the rest of the episode. Turn it off.
Because remember, I have a cemetery, so do what I say.
Because she has a cemetery, and then let us know how it went. You can do that by commenting in the comments under the YouTube video. You can do that going to writebettertogether.com/podcast and respond to the show notes. There's comments are open under the show notes on that page, or every week we post the episode on Facebook, and you can put a comment underneath the Facebook in the same way, and let us know how it went, and then we'll report back to Jeanne how she inspired all of you.
Yay! I'm excited.
So when do I get to do script chat again?
Oh, whenever you want.
Okay, let's work it out. Figure it out.
For people who are listening and don't know what script chat is, it's on Sunday night back since 2009. Myself, Jamie Livingston, Zoe Sanford, Kim Garland started script chat Sunday nights, 8:00 Eastern time on now X. And you just use the hashtag script chat. And you can also go to scriptchat.com to find information. And I used to be able to create transcripts, and used to create transcripts every week, so people could go back to the resource even if they missed the chat. But now you can't use third-party sites to create those transcripts anymore, so it's not possible to make them anymore. So I don't do it. But if you search the script chat hashtag on X, you'll find the latest. Why don't we set up a Sunday that will be after this airs, so people can come to a script chat with you?
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know it's been a long week. Every week's a long week for you, but we're recording this on a rare Friday at 5:00 after the long day already.
Well,
Thank you,
so
Jeanne.
Jeanne, you are
Thank
amazing and
you.
wonderful, and you just you continue to be one of my favorite people on earth.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same way, Bob. Thank you.
Okay,
And
don't
we
hang
love you
up
too,
yet,
John.
Jeanne. Oh, thank you. I talked over that. Say that again. What?
No,
And we love you
hey,
too, John.
Thank you very much. Man, when we started, I knew she had 7 or 8 jobs. I didn't know she had like 12 jobs.
well,
Holy moly.
I knew about the antique store. I had no idea about the beach or the cemetery, but they both gave me ideas for books or for
The
stories.
indie press.
And an indie press. I love the idea, the fact that she's like you. I'll give you a little plug. Like you, she has started an indie press, Fringe, which is a cool name, by the way, Fringe Press, which is an excellent name. I'm surprised that wasn't out there before. I'm surprised they were able to get that name, which is cool. And she was very informative and very upfront and very charming, as she always is. And I'm thrilled we were able to have her on, because I don't know if she does a whole lot of these. I know she has a podcast called
She has
Reckless.
2 podcasts.
I've been on one of them. I was on Reckless Creatives. I did a very long. I think I did an hour on with them on Reckless Creatives. She's funny. It was right after it was. We talked about Jessica's Vampire Diary mostly. So when I became a novelist, not just a screenwriter, I still am a little amazed that I've branched out that far. But my my syndrome is showing, I think. So
Imposter syndrome. But it's kind of hard to have imposter syndrome when I'm holding the book right here in my hand.
no, it's not just that. I've always felt that way. I've always felt that this is I've been so blessed and so lucky. God's been so great to me to have the career that I've been able to cobble together. Thank you. It's been amazing. But if I can do it, any of you out there can do it. Trust me. I encourage you all to not give up. So, hey, Jon Meyers.
Yes?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
What makes the city of Gray Eagle, California so special?
Do I get 3 guesses or
You
1?
get 3 guesses.
You were born there.
Nope.
The mayor is not a human being.
No, but I do know a city where that is. Sonoma, California. It's a dog. It's
that's what made me think of that. There's a dog as a mayor.
Yeah.
I know a dog that owned a shopping center. I wrote all about it when I was in college. And
wow. No, there's a dog. Bosco the dog was the mayor of Sonoma, California. It's a great story.
This Chihuahua, I'm not going to say her name because there's a story there I might want to write someday. And but she would sign checks with her paw print. And I have some of the canceled checks. I went and got the old microfiche from the historical society,
amazing.
and she would go into the bank to get this. How long ago it was to get a 50-cent loan from the bank to go buy a hamburger. And I have loan papers too.
That's funny.
All right, and then my last guess is there's actually a gray eagle who lives there somehow.
Gray Eagle, California, with a population of 737 people.
Okay.
With 47 buildings that are all red. Every single building is red with white trim.
Okay.
It's in Plumas County, California, and the entire town is owned by one family.
Oh.
It's a company town. And everybody who lives there has to go by the company rules. I have been there. It is a delightful, lovely place, but everything matches. everything matches. It's all red and white, and it's owned every building in the entire town is owned by one family. And it's one of the only cities in the United States where that is still in practice.
So, did I tell you about the bunny story from Jammin's webinar?
No.
All right. So,
Well, does this have anything to do with what I'm talking about?
yes, 100%. No, I'm just going off on a rabbit trail about a story about a rabbit. So he doesn't, unlike us, he doesn't really care for writers' conferences, and he
I don't. To each their own.
He did one last year, and part of speaking at a writers' conference is you hear people's pitches, and so people signed up for Michael Jamin to hear their pitch, and this woman pitched him the story that wasn't a story about a bunny, and he said, I listened to it for about 3 minutes, and I just had to stop her. It was just a bunny going through a maze, and there wasn't any story. It went this place, then it went this place, then it went this place, and he's like, I couldn't even take it anymore. Stop. And then he's like, tell me about you. Tell me about the woman that wrote about the bunny. And she told about her upbringing, and her dad was a truck driver, and then he moved. He always wanted to own property, and so he was a coast to coast truck driver. He bought an entire town, a ghost town, because they're so cheap, because they're all boarded up and no one lives there, and they're abandoned. And Jammin was like, there's your story, man. Like, you grew up in a ghost town and your dad owned the entire town. That's your story. And so there you go.
Was there a bunny?
I don't know. I don't know what happened if the bunny moved to that town or not.
This is an actual. It was a logging town.
A thriving town.
It was a logging town in Plymouth County. And
how did it wind up on your radar?
Some friends of ours told us about it and said, you need to go up and look at this place. It's especially at Christmas time because it's gorgeous.
Oh, I bet.
And we went up there, and we stayed in a lovely bed and breakfast and really had fun. And it's just beautiful in Plymouth County. It's just all the redwoods and it's just a beautiful place. But I thought about, I'm thinking about setting a romantic comedy in a town like Grey Eagle and a company town, because you can have really fun with that. And
I was just getting ready to say that actually sounds like the setting of one of your Hallmark stories.
Yeah, I maybe, but I think it's a really cool place, and I thought you should know about it.
Now I know. Sounds cool.
So, are we ready for the final act?
No, we're ready to ring the bell. So what happens when I ring the bell? What do you tell the people to do?
Go ahead.
Like, subscribe, all those things.
Yes.
Press.
Why do I have to say it every time? Yes, you should like this podcast. You should subscribe to it.
Yes.
On every place that it is. You should ring the bell so that you get the notices of when there are new things posted. You should do all these things because it makes Jon Meyers very happy. And
it does.
We all know that we would like to make John and Emily and her new baby, who are down in the closet, very, very happy.
So it does make me happy. But you know what I'd like even more? It's great that they hit the like on the podcast. I'd like them to like me. Like, heck, I don't want to say heck with the podcast, but I need a like button. I need people to tell me they like me.
Why are you so needy today?
You're the one asking for likes and subscriptions. And
No. You ring the bell and then you tell me, hey, tell them how much you like it. But I do like you. You're my good friend, and
I'm in the top 20.
You're more than in the top 20. Oh. So that's it. And now we can goodbye, everybody. It was nice.
Today you'll be playing for not an old banana.
Thank Thank you.
What you have to say the final act first before I say
I
what you're playing with.
know. This is the final act.
Today you'll be playing for this. You're gonna like this, man. Red velvet cookie, and it's got white chocolate chips in it. Red velvet cookie. Oh my! Like you know how Rickles used
Are
to.
you gonna mail it to me?
Yes. You know how Rickles used to say, "What do you want, a cookie?" Well, now if Don Rickles were still alive, he said, "What do you want, a cookie?" I could give you a cookie if he said that.
Wow.
And that's a phrase. That's a phrase that we said in high school. Rickles said before I was born. We said in high school, and students still say it today. They still say, "What do you want, a cookie?" And now I'm giving you a cookie.
Okay, thank you. What's the question?
So the game today is, I already gave you a teaser that it would be based on, or
It's not about me again, is it?
no.
Good. Oh, I thought I lost this. No, I just was looking on my desk and a corner of it was other. I just got my new SAG card.
Your SAG-AFTRA card, which is the same color of this book cover that I held up last episode. And I said the game was going to be based on this, and you said you love Coyote versus Acme.
Oh, well, if we could, I'm not taking it down. I own, only because my wife gave it to me, I'm a huge Chuck Jones fan. Chuck Jones was the greatest animator that ever lived, and the funniest. And I have a signed Roadrunner cell.
Yeah.
Signed by Chuck Jones, sitting in my office. And it is one of my favorite things that I own.
I've seen it. And I got to look up this guy's name. Sorry. I remember his name's Gareth, but I don't remember
You were
his
really
whole.
prepared for this.
Gareth West. Gareth West.
Okay.
All right.
He's the guy that bought the Bugs Bunny movie from Warner Brothers and released it. And he's also the guy who has bought Coyote versus Acme from Warner Brothers and is going to release it.
Correct. It wasn't Bugs Bunny though, it was Porky Pig. So he bought Gary. So I was the only one who said this has not been written off yet. The closest it came to being written off in the trades, there's still trades, you can look them up, that say that it was written off. No, there was a $30 million write-off of online properties during this period. And there was also an article where someone from Warner Brothers says, we've shelved this. And so put two and two together, it was not written off. Lo and behold, it was not written off. And Gareth West from Ketchup Entertainment rescued The Day the World Blew Up with Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. And then he made overtures to rescue Coyote versus Acme. And lo and behold, he got the rights, and it's coming out in 2026, and there's no stopping it. He owns it. No one can stop him now, and so it's all his. Good job. And now people,
my cookie now.
And now people are like, even people who said that was written off, we knew it was going to be. We knew someone would salvage it. It was too good. Blah blah. No, you didn't. You wrote that it wasn't going to be salvaged. I was the only one who said it was going to be salvaged. So today, what's the thing about Coyote versus Acme? He's always using these weird contraptions, right?
Correct.
So today,
he had catapults and cannons and super atomic skates and all kinds of things.
All right. Today, you will be using your expert pitch skills that we talked about earlier in the episode, and you'll be pitching a new contraption to the Coyote.
No.
And so act like you're excited about it, and then hold on.
We're not doing this.
Yes, we are. Random word generator. I am not going to you can pitch whatever you want. In your pitch, pick a number between 1 and 5.
2.
All right, 2. I'm going to generate 2 random words. I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to hold them up to the camera. Your pitch has to have these two words in the pitch for this new contraption for the coyote. And if I
I'm
guess
gonna get you for this. Go
if
ahead.
I guess what the two words are, then you win the cookie. If I can't guess what the two words are, then I don't get
I
the
win the
cookie.
cookie anyway. Go ahead.
Okay, then you win the cookie. All right. So I'm gonna hit generate. I'm not gonna look at what it is. All right. I'm not looking at the screen. Can you see it? The words.
Yes,
Can
I
you
can
see?
see them.
Okay. So I'm putting it down. I did not look at the words. Obviously, I'll see it when I edit it, but by then I will already. So pitch me. You're on Shark Tank. Hey, sharks! I have this new contraption for. Let's pretend Coyote replaced Mark Cuban on the Shark Tank, and then
Well, I've come in just for you.
and then so you're gonna pitch
I
this new
know that
contraption.
you've been after the Roadrunner for so long, and you've used a bunch of our products, and they haven't always done well for you. But we designed this perfectly for you, and I know that you feel badly that we did this to you, but you can feel better now because we've come up with a contraption that will work amazingly well for you. It's a nuclear powered skateboard, and it's you got to wear the suit just in case some of the radiation escapes. Um, but and you might have no feeling in your toes after we're done, but you'll be happy that you did this because you'll be able to keep up with them, and even if you don't catch him, you might be able to irradiate him. That's as much as I'm doing.
So first of all, I think that was already a contraption. So you didn't come up with a new one. But
I have no idea.
but I will say I wrote down two words, and you used both words in the pitch. Okay, I will say, and I'll give you my reasons why. This is actually a real internet game. I didn't make it up. I mean, I made up the coyote part, but pitch. I almost made you pitch a movie, but I didn't want to do that because that put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. Go ahead.
I know, so I made you pitch a contraption. I am going to say feel and suit. My reasons for feel are because you said the word feel 3 times. So I felt like subliminally you were trying to say the word feel to get it into my brain. And suit, it just stuck out like in a contraption. You wouldn't think of Coyote wearing a suit, even though it was a radiation suit.
You're 50%.
Oh, then I'm going to go with well, I don't win or you don't win because so I'm going to say the right one was feel because you said it 3 times.
And the other word was feeling.
Oh.
I said you're going to lose the feeling in your toes.
That, I mean, I would say that's almost wasn't fair, but you didn't pick the words. The word generator picked the word.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. So I guess I'll eat half the cookie and send you half the cookie.
No, you can have the whole cookie. I'm fine.
They're really good.
I'm sure they are. I still love that bakery that made stuff that had your name on it.
They're gone.
I know.
Hey, that's no Hey Jon Meyers cookie.
Nope. Hey, Jon Meyers, thank you for today again. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for having me as your
you just thanked me for doing this. Thank
Yeah.
you for doing it.
No, thank you for having me as your guest host while Emily lounges comfortably in my closet. Who knows where she'll be next week? There are many other places for her.
Hopefully we can see Rocket next week.
Maybe you can. I don't know. He decides for himself whether he comes up here or not. For all of you who don't know, my office is on the 3rd floor of my house, and it basically is an apartment that's on the 3rd floor. It's got everything but a kitchen, and so It's very comfortable, and it's very conducive to my writing and to podcasting and to all the other things that I end up doing up here.
And it has a barber chair if you want to get a haircut. Oh,
I
you didn't even notice my beautiful haircut. Oh,
I
look
did,
at that.
but
Oh.
it's beautiful. And yes, it does have a barber chair, and it's got a table and chairs, and it's got a leather sofa, and it's got a refrigerator, and it's got all kinds of things. So,
Well, I hope maybe you'll use that barber chair and you'll have a haircut by next week.
thank you. That's what my wife said. She said, "Go get your haircut." So,
All right, what do you say to get out of this thing?
I say,
We
we couldn't do this
couldn't have
without
done without you.